Hello everyone, Lee Fried here, and today we have The Light of Sex by Maria Nadlowska. This is obviously a strange book. This is kind of one of those occult initiation ritual books, and I honestly bought this on a whim. Usually when I read books, it's usually through a recommendation of someone else. People talk about it, they say, oh, you need to read this. But this is something I just saw and I picked up on a whim in a used bookstore to see, okay, you got my attention, what's going on here? And it's one of these, I would say, pretty much generic occult ritual texts, which pretty much draw you in with a sensational title, but a lot of it is devotions, praises, readings, maybe specific instructions for magic rituals, and usually just Satanism or Gnosticism, LARPing and pretending that it's not what it actually is. It's like, oh, we don't really hate God, but and what I really don't like about these books, honestly, on a non-religious level, is that it makes a lot of cyclical claims. Like, I don't know, I saw some passage in here just now where it was like, oh, the God is the Son, but he's also the Father, but I mean that is actually Christian doctrine, but they were saying it in a way that's like, but if you really think about it, the Father could be the Son as well. They make a lot of, inquisitive claims, which is also my problem with Nietzsche. Like, oh, isn't this like weird and ironic that these two things could be possibly this, rather than a more philosophical and direct and well thought out approach is that this is like this because of this. And in order to be happy, you need to do this in this way. Rather than saying, oh, wow, isn't it like ironic that you can do it this way or that way and you get to happiness, and like that subjective, like that might be someone else's happiness, but the other happiness could be like this, which speaks to a level of inexperience and just kind of speculation, which I hate because you're wasting everybody's time. But apparently Maria Nadlowska was a Russian mystic woman, lived in St. Petersburg in the latter 1800s, early 1900s, and apparently was a practitioner and part of the cult of the Golden Arrows, if I'm recalling this correctly. Yeah, so what they even say, they say, God is life, but also life is God. And these two propositions are equivalent. But whether one adopts one or the other of these formulas, it is a serious matter, and misunderstandings are possible. Be prudent then, and do not accept the dogma without a long preliminary meditation. Do not declare yourself convinced. Starting from these words, life is God, you feel yourself drawn into a depth of the words where the words cease to apply. If your meditation, anyway, it goes on like this. I don't really know what else to say about these kinds of books. They kind of just, you read them and you go, that's kind of interesting. And then they talk about some gross initiation ritual where you have to like urinate on someone, and it's like, okay, well, I didn't get much out of this, And then it's like, is human reasoning more powerful than God? Because he fears, Adam eating the apple and becoming aware, becoming sentient in a satanic, Gnostic, we're better than God kind of sense without trying to say it. And then there's a lot of stuff here is like, if God is life, then death is shadow, etc. It's what I hate about these books or things like this is it's saying a lot of things without having a point. And sometimes it's just an excuse for people to LARP as God-hating people and sort of over-explain their viewpoint, even though it's completely empty and void or whatever. But yeah, it's like I read this and I got really nothing out of it, except that secret societies have this whole cult mentality of it's way too complicated, but you'll get it once you get higher in the levels. and a bunch of symbology and mysticism that is pretty forgettable and doesn't actually help you in any feasible way. Like, there's tons of different symbols and analysis and metaphors that you can make about a certain subject or thing, but if it's not memorable, if it's not usable, if it doesn't actually ring true, and it's just like someone's subjective observation, then what's the point? And they all have these sayings and mantras and stuff. So unless you really want to be in this type or a specific type of like cult, then I guess pick this up. But otherwise, there's no reason to read this, except that this is their whole song and dance and show that they're going to try to, you know, if you're somebody who hates religion and church, all the song and dancing and praising that they do, this is pretty much the exact same thing, but kind of doing it as like, you know, oh, well, we're not them, so we're different, and it's and we're so much better than that. And yeah, they all these secret handshakes and signs and stuff, and it's like, all right, well, you know, it's good to know that. I mean, this is good, I guess, if you want to write content for a fictional cult. If you need source material, I guess this is actually good for that. But a lot of this is, you know, not super substantial and frankly just super forgettable, if I'm being honest. But it does exist, and there is, I think, the light of sex. I think that's the whole part where it talks about there's one ritual where there's a woman who is naked in front of a man, and he, if I recall correctly, he basically does not fornicate with her. He does nothing to her, and he has to resist the temptation. And then he doesn't. I forget exactly, and I don't really care. But yeah, no, if you want to write about cults, this is, I guess, a good thing to read and pick up. But aside from that, it kind of sucks. I wouldn't recommend it on almost any other basis. You can probably honestly get better information about cults and the rituals from another source, honestly, as well. And the only good thing is that it's relatively short, so you won't waste a lot of time. And there are some illustrations in here and stuff like that. So, you know, it's kind of like, okay, well, I mean, the inside of it looks nice at least, and the spacing of the words is at least decent. But yeah, whatever. This exists, and I'm kind of embarrassed to have it in my collection. But I own it, and I read it, so there it is. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. As always, keep reading, and I'll see you later.